10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast, episode 463. Hey everybody, welcome back. Episode 463 of the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast. We are sticking with our guns here and doing another episode on the great tune Blues for Alice by the legend Charlie Parker. So what we are going to talk about today is a continuation of last week's episode. So if you haven't checked out episode 462, highly recommend you go and do that because we're building on top of those skills that we created there. So as a quick reminder, what we did was we used all of the chord changes, which is quite a stark difference of what we were doing last month, which is to get rid of all the chord changes. But the idea was that we wanted to be able to get through multiple forms playing one note per chord, right? So in some bars, that would be a whole note when there's only one chord per bar. And in some bars, that would be two half notes when we see two chords per bar. So what we were doing is just kind of making sure that we could play one quality note over every single chord, because if we can't do that, then really, think about it, we have no shot at creating like interesting eighth note lines or feeling comfortable over this harmony if we choose to follow it closely, which is something that we probably want to do at points, right? So it was sort of a test and an exercise in hearing that progression, following it as many times as we possibly could. And now we're going to build on that. Basically, the idea is really, really simple. Now, instead of playing one note per chord, now we're going to play two. So if we have one chord per bar, we're going to play two half notes. And if we have two chords per bar, we're going to be playing quarter notes at this point, right? So now we have to play double the amount of information that we were playing last week. So do you see how it would be a really fantastic idea to make sure you can do the exercise from last week, right? Because we are, in fact, doubling the amount of stuff that we have to play. So again, two notes per chord, and I'm just going to play a demonstration of it so that on top of me talking about it, you can actually hear a couple of choruses of that. So there it is. Now, obviously that's done pretty fast, and the training tracks that I'm going to give to the Patreon members this week, they're going to be that fast. But remember, you always have the option of dropping it into some kind of software where you can slow it down. And I do recommend making sure that you could do it slowly, because this might represent sort of a turning point for you, where even if you thought last week's episode was fairly easy, this is a lot. It really is a lot. There's a lot to think about. There's a lot to keep up with. But what I love about this exercise is that just like last week, when we say instead of one note per bar, right, or something like that, two notes per bar, what we're doing is we're saying one note per chord or two notes per chord. And what this does is it really cements into our mind and our ears and our fingers the harmonic rhythm of this piece, right? Because you have to follow the harmonic rhythm and adapt what you are playing to how many chords are going by in the moment. So again, on top of the fact that you have to string together a bunch of notes, which is obviously really fantastic for you, you also have to think, oh, okay, well, is this chord lasting 2 beats, or is this chord lasting a full measure. And the entire time you are just solidifying that and just getting more used to the progression. And that's the idea here, because obviously we don't want to just be doing these prescribed exercises forever over this tune. Eventually we want to just solo over this tune, and we want to be able to create creative statements over this, artistic statements over this tune. And obviously that's what we're working up to. But I think this is some of the best work that you could ever do. And next week, we're going to go one step further with a prescribed idea. And then in the very last episode of this series, we're going to really free ourselves up and start to think about sort of what we're going to play for the rest of our lives over this tune, meaning not the solo that you're going to play for the rest of your life over this tune. You know what I'm saying. How we can approach this tune with confidence, clarity, and an understanding of what's going on, both with our ears, our fingers, and our brain for the rest of our lives, so that we can build these fantastic solos. Okay, so I will give the Patreon members, you already have the chord sheet with all the chords on it, but I'll give you guys another trading choruses and trading fours track. And then your job this week is to get to the point where you can play 2 notes per chord. I don't care how fast it is, all that stuff. You just need to get to the point where you can work your way through multiple choruses. Think like anywhere from 2 to 4 choruses, and confidently play 2 notes per chord. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about when I say Patreon members, we're a listener-supported podcast. And what that means is that we don't have any advertisements on the show. We simply rely on the people that get something out of the show, which means we have to prove ourselves week in and week out to support us. And people do that in the form of a small monthly donation. In return for that donation, you get all of these resources that I'm talking about, plus the archive of all 463 episodes that we've ever done. You get all those materials as well. So if you want to learn more, go to our website, 10minutejazzlesson.com, click on one of the Patreon banners, or go to patreon.com, search for the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast, and you can sign up, and you get instant access to everything, and you get that warm, fuzzy feeling that you are keeping this show going. So again, 10minutejazzlesson.com, click on one of the Patreon banners, or patreon.com, search for the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast. Also, if you are interested in doing something a little bit more intense than just listening to this podcast every week, and you want some personal mentorship and to be part of a community that cares about jazz and getting better just as much as you do, you may be interested in my online jazz education program, the Jazz Intensive. And that gets you a private lesson each month, plus multiple group meetings per week. It's fantastic. I will include a link to learn more about that in the show notes below this episode. And if you're interested, I'd love to talk to you a little bit further about what that program is all about. Okay. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.